Which AI model should you actually be using? Well, if you're anything like me, up until maybe a couple of months ago, you were just using ChatGPT for everything. And I'm here to tell you today, if you're only using ChatGPT, you're behind. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down my top 6 AI models, ranked from 6 through to 1, exactly which ones to use for what, and how to build your own system so you can get the best results possible across the board, leveraging each AI model for what they're good at. And number 1 on this list is definitely going to surprise you. Number 6 is DeepSeek. So I've included the specific model name in here, but as you know, AI models change every other week. There's a new one coming out, new and improved. But general across the board for all these AIs, the model is just what's out now, but the actual AI company itself, like DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Claude, etc., the underlying model, its strengths and weaknesses tend to not change too much across the individual models, if that makes sense. Like Claude is good at writing, and that hasn't changed since it came out throughout all the models. So that's sort of what I mean. But number 6 is DeepSeek. So I haven't used DeepSeek a whole lot, I'm going to be honest, but I am paying close attention to what it represents. So DeepSeek is China's model, and it is very good. And the fact that it came out of China, built on subpar GPUs, so in the US, all the best AI models are trained on the best computer chips available. But in China, they're limited to what chips they have available. So DeepSeek was built on chips that are not as good as what the US has, and it was built for around, I believe, 300 and something million, compared to OpenAI and some of the other ChatGPT models costing tens of billions to make. So the fact that it came out of China, built on subpar GPUs and caught up to the US, which had a massive head start, should get everyone's attention. And DeepSeek is a very good model, and it is very, very cost efficient. So that is how I have been using it and seeing it used. So for example, I just had a little play around with it then. So in DeepSeek, it's actually pretty good at writing too. I just gave it this little prompt here about writing a social media post for my ideal customer. And it's actually done a pretty good job here. But a couple of things with DeepSeek. So when you're actually in the model, firstly, I don't really trust my data in this model. I'm not going to be uploading lots of company docs and private information into DeepSeek. 2 is you don't have any of these features like ChatGPT and Claude have, which are really helpful for getting your work done and maximizing your outputs and efficiency, such as projects. That's a big one they don't have. Custom GPTs, skills that Claude has introduced, things like that. It's just very basic, just new chat. So every new chat you start, you just have to keep updating your company context, which isn't ideal. But it is a very good model, I'm not going to lie. But where it really excels is because it's so cheap, it's very good at being used in automations at scale. So just to preface, for all my automations that I build in N8N or whatever automation software you use, I do just default to OpenAI's ChatGPT because using these models is very, very cheap, a couple of cents per execution. But if you got automations at scale where you're just executing like thousands of times a day, those couple of cents start to add up. So that's where DeepSeek comes in. It's the most cost efficient. So if you've got an automation, for example, this is just a mock-up automation that someone might have, right? Where a new customer service email comes in, and then it needs to be directed to a different team to handle the email. Like you might have the finance team, tech support team, etc. And the new email comes in, and DeepSeek, you might have a DeepSeek module in here just to read the email and determine who it's for. And if you're receiving thousands of emails a day, if you're a big company, then DeepSeek is going to be like make your automation costs a fraction of what they would have been with other models. So that's where DeepSeek I'm seeing really excels currently, is with automations at scale. But where it falls short is it is pretty weak at creative or narrative tasks, and you lack those features that are so important, like projects and things on the native DeepSeek interface. Number 5 is Grok 4. So Grok 4, I haven't used a whole lot either, but one thing that's really important to note about Grok in general is because it's owned by XAI, Elon, owner of Twitter, it's got access to real-time X data for tracking trends and social listening. But for anyone building a brand, tracking online sentiment, or trying to stay on top of what's happening in real time, Grok is great at this. Also too, what I like about Grok is you're going to get unbiased answers. So if I'm ever chatting with AI about some touchy topics, AI, like a lot of the major models like ChatGPT and stuff, will tiptoe around it, don't want to give you good answers about certain things. So if I really want an answer to be unbiased, I will go to Grok as my default. But it is very personality driven, and it's still maturing. It's not ideal for technical precision or like any sort of deep work. I don't really use Grok for any of that. It's good for tracking real-time trends, social listening, getting unbiased answers, and also for a bit of fun. I also wouldn't bet against Elon Musk because he's shown time and time again that he can turn ambitious projects into category-defining products. Number 4 is Gemini 2.5. So Gemini is a very, very strong model, and I actually do use it a fair bit. One of the major things that I use it for is it's really good at video understanding, like image understanding. It's very good at dealing with inputs that aren't text. So a lot of models, right, if you put in a screenshot image or you give it a video, a social media ad and say, analyze this ad, it's going to have a very hard time because a lot of these models just aren't as good as Gemini at that. But Gemini is amazing at understanding videos, images, other sort of weirder file formats. So if you're building something, like if you want to build an agent that analyzes the best performing ads and pulls out like what works and stuff, that's kind of when you use Gemini. Anything when you're trying to like actually understand videos, you want the AI model to understand videos. The other thing is it's got a massive 1 million token context window. Basically what that means is it's got very, very good memory. So if you're in a chat with an AI model, after like an hour of chatting back and forth, it's going to start to forget things that you talked about at the very start, but Gemini is going to remember a lot more of that. It's also, if you've got projects and stuff where you're uploading files, you can upload way bigger files. A $1 million context window is around about 750,000 words. So that's like 1,500 to 2,500 pages. So it's a lot of data. The other thing Gemini is really good at is it's got the native Google Workspace integration. So if you're using Google Docs all the time, emails, you can pull it in from the sidebar and just use it kind of in the doc you're working in, which is very good for people that work all the time in Google. Another thing that I love Gemini for is it does very good deep research. So when you're like sort of chatting with it, you can use the deep research feature, and it's very, very good, on par with Perplexity, which we're going to talk about soon, sometimes even better for certain things. So for example, this one I talked about, like business hypothesis for an AI education company, conduct deep market research, blah, 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 and it's done a very, very good job of deep market research here. So once it's finished its deep research, it's going to open up the research that it's done on the right-hand side, and you've got this option here, which is to create. And you can create a web page, infographic, audio overview, and these things are really, really cool. So I did market research into the AI education market, and then I clicked create infographic, and I'll show you what it built. And it built me this awesome infographic with charts, graphs, all this stuff. So you can do research and then get it interpreted into different graphs and stuff, tables that you can then use in business reports, pitch decks, all that sort of stuff. So I think this feature is really, really cool. And then what you can do is it won't naturally have a download button, but you can say add in a download PDF button or download image button, and then you can click that and it just downloads the PDF for you of the infographic. So I think this is a really, really cool feature of Gemini, which I had to mention. So to recap, I use Gemini for understanding different file types, especially videos and images, its large context window, its native Google Workspace integration, deep research, and infographics from that deep research. But where it falls short is creative writing, any sort of writing. I just feel that it's not as good as the other models. It's very robotic and lacks that human like authenticity feeling. By the way, if you've got value from this video so far, you are going to love receiving one value-packed email from me each week. I sit down, I write it all by hand, none of it's AI, and I curate everything you need to know from that week that's happened in AI, all the updates, feature drops, anything that's going to impact your work, and none of the bullshit. I follow a lot of AI newsletters and it's just full of shit, like OpenAI hired a new head of product. Like no one cares about that. It doesn't impact your work. So I send you one email a week with the news that matters, the tools worth trying, copy paste prompts, and 5-minute tutorials so you can get more done and make more money. So if you want to sign up, it's completely free. You can unsubscribe at any time. I'm going to leave this link in the description, or it'll be like on my YouTube channel. You'll be able to find it. So number 3 is Perplexity, and Perplexity is in my core stack. So I'm using this tool pretty much every single day. Back in the early days of AI, when ChatGPT sort of first came out, it did not have internet access. So if there was like let's say the Super Bowl was yesterday, and I asked ChatGPT who won this year's Super Bowl, ChatGPT is not going to have any idea because it's trained on lots of data from the past and it doesn't have any access to real-time information. That's changed now, by the way. ChatGPT does have internet access now, but that's why Perplexity was born. Back in the day, ChatGPT did not have any internet access. So the company behind Perplexity built Perplexity as ChatGPT with internet access. And that was their unique value proposition. But now every new AI model has internet access, but Perplexity has really just drilled down in making that their core function. So Perplexity is my go-to for anything research. So when I want to fact check answers, like get factual responses, even just everyday, like day-to-day questions, I just have Perplexity app on my phone. I don't even have the Pro plan. And I'll just, like anything I want a quick answer to, where I want the answer to be rooted in fact from the internet. I don't want any risk of AI just making shit up. One of the other things is when you're in Perplexity, you can choose the model. So you have access to, with the Pro plan only, you have access to pretty much all the major AI models. And when you're doing your questions and searches with Perplexity, you can choose what data you want it to get the answer from. So I find social very, very useful because that's things like Reddit, where you've got real people in there speaking how they feel. So for like market research for a new business, for example, this is very, very powerful. So I'll go in and use social and web, that sort of thing. But just to give you an example, let's look at my chats. So how do I get 2 display screens with my MacBook Air chip? And then it's just gone through and it's actually just every answer is pulled from reputable sites. Whereas if you ask the same thing to ChatGPT, it's probably just going to make something up, to be honest. It'll give you an answer that'll be like most of the time accurate, but it's not actually, it's kind of just making it up, you know what I mean? Whereas Perplexity is actually answering from legitimate sources. But where Perplexity falls short is it's literally just built for that. It's just research. So you're not going to do any like sort of writing content with it, coding, etc. It's not a creative content creation tool. It's just for research. Number 2 is ChatGPT. So I use ChatGPT about 100 times a day. It's just super versatile, tried and trusted, and it's the most user-friendly model. And it's the most popular out of all the AI models. A good way to put it is ChatGPT is like your daily driver. It's great for just super quick research, quick questions, brainstorming, also automation, like that DeepSeek example I showed earlier. The interface is great. This is a new account, so I don't have any of my usual data and projects, but yeah, projects feature is another big one. GPTs are awesome. I'm not a developer or a coder, but I've heard really good things about Codex for coding. ChatGPT is just the tool I default to for quick research, brainstorming, strategizing, automation, and rapid fire questions. Like, how do I connect this to that? This isn't working in my automation. How do I fix it? How many calories are in a banana? Where I believe it falls short is it can hallucinate on niche topics. So unless you give it lots of context or legitimate research, it'll just make stuff up and treat it as fact. And don't get me wrong, it's gotten a lot better in recent times on hallucinations. It used to be a lot worse. Now it's pretty good, but it still happens sometimes. And also, I find that the writing ChatGPT does is very easily identifiable as AI generated. If you're using ChatGPT to write video scripts, social media posts, any sort of copywriting, I just think that it's subpar and it is very easy to tell when something is written by ChatGPT. And I'm not saying ChatGPT is bad at anything. It's not bad at anything. It's just there's tools that are better than it for certain things. I'm giving the number 1 spot to King Claudius. So I'm very, very bullish on Claude right now. Recently, in the last couple of months, I've switched all my projects, most of my major work into Claude. So Claude were actually the first AI company to come out with the projects feature. By the way, all the accounts you're seeing today are just new accounts, so they don't have any of my like normal stuff in them. Normally I have loads more. But Claude was the first AI to come out with projects, which was just a massive step forward in making work and everything about using AI easier. Projects are already amazing, but then Claude and the company Anthropic behind Claude released this feature called Skills, only maybe 2 weeks ago. The easiest way to explain skills is skills are SOPs, standard operating procedures for AI. So basically you can, if you have a way that you like a task done, a way that you like a report written, anything where you have a standard procedure for doing something, you can create a skill for it and train Claude on it. So it can just do a certain process exactly how you want it every single time. And by combining projects and skills, you can literally create AI employees in 10 minutes. I did a full breakdown on Claude skills in my newsletter the other week. And I've also got a YouTube video, I think it's the one before this, talking about skills. I highly recommend going and learning about skills because they are probably the most useful update we've had in the AI world, arguably all year. So I have pretty much all my AI employees built as projects in Claude with access to skills, so they know how to do all the tasks in my business. And then also with Claude's MCP feature, they were the first to pioneer that too. MCP just stands for Model Context Protocol. And without sounding like a nerd, they're basically like APIs for AI. So with an API, if you're not familiar, APIs are just a way for 2 softwares to chat to each other and send actions from one software to another. And an MCPs is literally just APIs for AI models to call tools. So I have Claude set up with all my major processes, like my time-consuming day-to-day tasks, built it as skills. So Claude knows exactly how I want it done and can just do it for me. I've got projects set up, which is like different brains in my organization, like a head of content, head of strategy, head of marketing, that kind of thing. And then each of those ones have access to their corresponding skills or processes that they need to do on the day-to-day. And then thanks to MCPs, they also have access to all my softwares. So if I'm creating content with my content creation employee, I can then say, okay, great, add this new ad we've written into my ads database in Notion. And then the Claude will go and update my Notion database, which is fucking awesome. So Claude is leading the way by a mile in terms of features. And the platform is just the best for doing serious work. The other thing is the actual model itself. Their current one is Sonnet 4.5. They've got Opus 4.1, which is just phenomenal. It's the best model I've ever used ever, but it's so expensive. Like, you will literally hit your usage limits in like 3 messages. But the model itself, I just like the way it speaks, the content output. So any written work, which if you're a business owner not coding, pretty much most of your work is written work. Landing pages, ads, video scripts, you name it, anything that's writing, Claude is just going to do the best job at that. I also forgot to add in, I talk a lot about how good it is at writing, but it's also really good at other things, like creating documents, creating PDFs, creating infographics, creating super simple apps you can use. So this whole slide deck that I've been using in this video was created by Claude. So I just gave it the YouTube video outline, sort of the structure of this video, and I said I'm going to record a video ranking the AI models, build me a simple slide deck, use the AI with Remy branding. And I've given it all my branding as a skill. So it's got a Remy brand guideline skill. And it's just asked me a couple clarifying questions. And then bang, it's just created this slide deck here. As you can see here, it's pretty good. I needed to fix up a couple little things. And you can just message it and say, hey, fix this, fix that. But you can see it's got put the little icon in there. It's done all the slides. So Claude is just really good at that kind of stuff. Just a lot of like day-to-day work tasks. It can just do things that no other AI model can do. It's also got the artifacts feature built in. So artifacts is almost like a little whiteboard where you can just like preview what Claude's been doing. A lot of the other AI models have similar things that they've adopted from Claude. I find Claude just leads the way with all the amazing features, and then other AIs like, oh fuck, we should implement this too. Another example is just using Claude to create like little internal tools. So quite often when I'm like designing documents and things or like presentations, you want the fonts to be the right ratio, like your headline font to body font. So I just gave it a simple prompt. I was like, build me a simple web app with the golden font ratios so I can like adjust things. And then this was what I built for me. Literally off, I think I used 2 prompts. The first prompt was literally just as simple as that, like build me an app that shows the different type ratios, an interactive app, and then the follow-up prompt was maybe just refining a couple of things. And then it built this little web app for me where you've got the 3 major font ratios here, and then you enter your base font size of your body font, 16, and then it will tell you what your other headline fonts, how big they should be. And then I just bookmark this and I just use it all the time when I'm designing documents. But Claude seriously lacks some features, like it's very bad at understanding videos, images. It's also not good at research, image generation. It does not have any sort of form of image generation thing. But that's why you need to build up a system where you use different AI models for different key tasks. So for research, I just go out and use Perplexity or Gemini and then come back to Claude and bring the research report to continue working. So that's one area that Claude falls short in, is it just doesn't have the same capabilities as some other models, especially with research and different inputs. The other thing is it's arguably, I think it's the most expensive model, not in terms of like plans. Like you've still got the same plan pricing as ChatGPT, but you'll just hit your usage limits quicker, if that makes sense. So for your $20 on ChatGPT, you can pretty much, I think, get almost like unlimited messages. Whereas Claude, that same $20 a month, you're going to have fewer limit. Like there's actually limits to how many messages you can send. And they're pretty generous limits, but you will hit them quickly if you're using it just for everything every day. So that's why I keep my serious work in Claude, and then ChatGPT for everyday stuff, and then some of those other models for research, that kind of thing. The other thing that Claude is amazing at is coding. Like I said, I'm not a developer or coder, I haven't really used it, but it's the one, Claude Code is what I hear everyone online raving about. And if you're anything like me, I care a lot about branding and the way things make me feel too. And Claude is definitely winning on vibes. In this AI race that we've got going on right now, you've got all these big players, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. They're all trying to find their unique market positioning. And it's very clear that OpenAI are going for the mass market, everything to everybody approach. Whereas Claude have really doubled down on builders, people doing cool things. The way I think about it is Claude is going like for the Apple approach, where Windows is kind of like your everyday, everyone uses Windows. But then Apple came along, they're kind of disrupting it. They're like, we're for the troublemakers, the thinkers, the creatives. And that's kind of what Claude's doing. I'm going to link this down below, but this is Claude's ad that they did a month ago. And I think it's literally one of the best ads I've ever seen. I watch it like every other day. It gets me so hyped up. And while everyone's super scared about AI taking the thing that matters most to us, which is our brain and our thinking, Claude have really leaned into this in their whole branding. Their new campaign is about keep thinking, meet your thinking partner. And they've labeled themselves as the AI for problem solvers. But that's it. That's the top 6. And just as a quick reference system / recap, for your research and fact checking, use Perplexity. For your quick questions, brainstorming, daily tasks, everyday use, ChatGPT. For high quality writing and coding, and also for building AI employees, Claude takes the cake by a mile. For cost efficient automations, DeepSeek is the best. For real-time trends, social intel, public sentiment, and real-time trends, Grok is the clear winner. And for video analysis and massive data, Gemini is the tool you should be using. So that's just your quick cheat sheet there. The key takeaway is that there is no best AI. There is no one AI that you should be using. As Bruce Lee would say, be like water. You want to be fluid. The best AI models for different things change all the time. So you don't want to just be hell-bent on using one tool. You want to be flexible and be able to switch up and move to different tools as different tools become better for different things. You need to build a system where you know exactly which tool to reach for, depending on what task you're doing. But I'm going to leave you here. Hopefully this gave you a really good sort of overview on all the different AI tools, the major AI tools that are out there at the moment, and what one you should be using for different things. If you got value from this video, don't forget to subscribe below. Also check out my newsletter. Every Thursday, I'm dropping some absolute sauce. None of that AI generated slop. It's just the good stuff that's really going to impact you and your work. But that's it for today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.